to get on, so we're going to rework our agenda a little bit. Just one second. So I think what I'd like to do now is I'll go ahead and introduce to you Clara Disqua. So Clara is a US citizen who is directly impacted by this issue, and she will be sharing her story with us today. Clara, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Clara Disqua. I am a US born citizen and I was born in Texas. I've been married to my husband, Carlos, who is from Honduras since 2014. Although I petitioned for my husband's green card, he has another pending immigration case, and he would have to return to Honduras for 10 years before he could come back. And it is much too dangerous for him to return to Honduras at this time. My husband's brother was murdered in Honduras in September of 2014 by corrupt police and a gang. I'm a proud American citizen, and I was a registered Republican until 2016. I love my country and I love my family. My husband has held my hand and supported me through the hardest of times. He was with me through my battle with stage 3 cancer, the death of our baby, and the loss of everything during a hurricane. I cannot imagine one day without him. My son is 29 years old, and he is a disabled US combat veteran who served in Afghanistan. He suffers from PTSD as a result of the events during his time in service there. I'm proud of the sacrifices he made to preserve our freedom. The pandemic has been really hard on us. I was doing Instacart delivery, but I had to stop because I am so afraid of the coronavirus. I'm high risk, and I'm still battling cancer. I knew that we would not receive a stimulus check for my husband, but I never dreamed that as a US citizen and taxpayer that I would be punished because of who I married. I've had a very hard time paying my electric bill, for my mortgage, for groceries. The stimulus check was the money that I was counting on to make ends meet. We lived in Coral Springs for years, but right now we are temporarily in South Carolina until things get better and we can return to Florida. I'm asking Senator Rick Scott not to forget about me and my family. We need help. We have always paid our fair share of taxes, and I should not be punished. And our family sacrifices should not be ignored just because of the person I chose to marry. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. It is now my pleasure to introduce our founder, Mike Fernandez, Chairman and CEO of MBF Healthcare Partners and co-chair of IMPAC Fund and ABIC. Mike is a leading voice on expanding democracy and finding common sense immigration solutions that are good for our economy and help keep families together. He has been one of the most prolific donors to the Republican Party and is currently an independent. Mike, thank you for joining us today.
Kathy, thank you very much. And Clara, thank you for your story and for your courage. As a former U.S. serviceman, it pains me to hear what you're going through and what your family is going through. No American should be penalized by because they marry somebody in Washington does not approve of, which is extremely, extremely sad and un-American to say the least. So thank you for sharing that story with us. According to all polls that I have read, including census and other information from the Fox networks, most Americans support the logical step of supporting all Americans. They do not differentiate between who you marry or not. If you're an American in good standing, you should be receiving these benefits, which are dear to meet your everyday obligations, without which you could not live. So it pains me to hear that this kind of actions are still being implemented by the politicians in Washington. Personally, I've known Rick Scott. Rick Scott was a good friend of mine. I was the largest donor to Rick Scott's campaign for re-election. And I too, like Clara, I'm a former Republican. I declined to be part of the Republican Party in 2016 and I became an independent. Rick, I'm going to speak to you directly. I know you're a good man. You and your wife, Ann, and your two girls, you're good people. Please, don't ignore this issue. There are thousands and thousands of Claras out there that are going through the same hurt, and you're in a position to help. That's why you got elected. Don't ignore those Floridians who you can help, and all you have to do is participate along with Marco Rubio, Senator Rubio, and others that support this logical position, and something that everyone in the country just about supports. So do not be AWOL, do not disappear on us. We want to hear your voice. If you're going to not support it and speak against it and give us the reasoning, so at least we know what your logic is. Otherwise, please show your face once again. Thank you, Kathy. Clara, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. Bob, are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to introduce you. I would like to begin by introducing Bob Dickinson, former president and CEO of Carnival Cruise Lines and co-chair of IMPAC Fund and the American Business Immigration Coalition. Bob Dickinson is one of the travel industry's most accomplished and respected leaders. He has held positions with Ford Motor Company, RCA, and Carnival Cruise Lines, where he was the highest ranking executive at the world's largest cruise operator prior to retiring in 2007. Bob, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. So good afternoon, everybody. As a Florida businessman, as you can imagine, it's been difficult to watch one of our biggest industries, the travel industry, literally come to a halt under the rising impact of this global pandemic. With over 8 million people unemployed in Florida and our national GDP down by almost 40%, the need has never been greater to get economic stimulus payments in the hands of families and consumers to move our economy forward. Unfortunately, over 200,000 of Florida's American citizens in mixed status families have been denied stimulus checks. This has resulted in a combined loss of $340 million to Florida families and to our state's economy. Excluding these American citizens because they are married to an immigrant is not only economically foolish and stupid, but downright immoral. As Senator Rubio said in our town hall last week, if you can vote and you can fight for your country, then you should also be entitled to the same rights and obligations that other citizens at large have. The only alternative for these citizens now who are left behind would be divorcing their spouses. What an absurd ask from the Republican Party that prides itself on promoting family values. Senator Rubio has filed legislation to fix this mistake. We hope that Senator Rick Scott will not forget these 200,000 U.S. citizens in Florida that are counting on his support. I've known Rick Scott for about 10 years now. I've found him to be an honorable and moral man. He cares for the people, certainly did when he was governor. But to take this position now, which is so counter to what I believe I've always thought to be his beliefs as a fair and honorable gentleman, to me it's unconscionable. And the fact that he doesn't speak out, he doesn't defend it, it's sort of like a turtle that puts his head in the sand, whatever. It's just not right. And so many citizens have been so distraught and flabbergasted by his silence. As Mike says, if he can defend his position, we're all ears. We'd like to hear that. His silence to me suggests, as any man would conclude, that his position is indefensible. That's a shame. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob, and thank you so much, Mike, for making those powerful statements. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Kim Liu, who is also a directly impacted U.S. citizen. Dr. Liu?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your time and for this opportunity. My name is Kim Liu, and I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a registered voter and also a business owner. I was born in the Dominican Republic, where I was a medical doctor. When I came to the United States, I studied psychology and went through the process of becoming a doctor again, and I switched to Oriental medicine. I eventually opened my own acupuncture practice. I practice holistic medicine because I feel that I can help more people this way. I became a US citizen in 2015, and I've been working and paying taxes since 2004. I've been married for 2 years to my wife, Miriam, from Venezuela. She came here to this country because she was being persecuted over there due to her orientation. We filed for her immigration paperwork in December 2018. We received a notice saying that they did receive our paperwork, but we haven't heard anything since. My wife is still waiting for her employment authorization and social security number. So currently she's unable to work. We have been filing our taxes jointly for the last 2 years, and we use her IT number to file. My business was doing pretty good until the pandemic hit, where I had to close my practice. I filed for unemployment, but I did not receive any state or federal unemployment. My wife still cannot legally work. I was counting on the $1,200 stimulus check for me as a US citizen, but I did not receive one. All of my friends and family have received one except for me. My family was counting on this. I just learned that the reason my wife and I didn't receive the stimulus check is because she doesn't have a social security number yet. I truly believe that all US citizens should be able to access these critical resources during this economic crisis. This is such a difficult time for families and business owners like me. I want to thank Senator Rubio for working to fix this problem to make sure that US citizens are not penalized for who they marry. And as a voter, I'll remember the hard work in advocating for families like mine, and I'll remember those who didn't. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Liu. And I just wanted to take a minute to let everybody know who's on the line from the media. So we've got Phil Willett, Ramsey Touchberry, Rick Flagg, and Troy Kinsey. So we've got folks from Florida Politics, Newsweek, I think it's Bay News 9 up in Bay County. So thank you so much for joining us today. We will definitely be opening it up for questions in just a couple of minutes. So our last speaker today will be Pilar Guzman. Give me just 1 second here. So Pilar Guzman Zavala is the owner and CEO of Half Moon Empanadas based in Miami. She is a board member for IMPAC Fund and Venture Cafe. She's a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization South Florida chapter. She's a Miami fellow and a mentor for food entrepreneurs in Miami for the FIU Food Lab. If I could put your phones on mute. I just hear a beep. Thank you. She's also a Ricardo Salinas Scholarship recipient for the Aspen Institute and a Young American Leaders Program Fellow from the Harvard School of Business. Pilar, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I want to say that it gives me hope to have a conversation like this where we have different business leaders and citizens, raising our voice. I felt very, I could relate strongly to the stories of both, Clara and Kim. I am a Latino business owner. I'm a woman. I'm an immigrant. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a mother of two. And I also, care, of course, for my family, but I truly care for my, for my employees, my team, and my community. I'm the owner of Half Moon Empanadas. We're a small chain of empanadas in South Florida. Before the pandemic, we had 13 locations open. And once COVID hit, we're down to 2. So we had to close 11 locations. It's been really hard, and it's been a moment to be very creative as a business. And like Kathy says, I'm part of different business organizations here in Miami, and I hear the same thing from, other small business owners. How are we going to be able to keep the employees if we're not able to sell, if our sales are down? In our industry specifically, at least 25% of the spending in restaurants is down compared to last year. And you go outside on the streets in Miami, and every day there's a restaurant closing. So this is a moment where consumer spending is critical. So for us to be able to keep, employment. And so I want to just use this time, to really ask who's listening, the business leaders, the U.S. citizens, the taxpayers, please reach out to Senator Scott and ask him this question. Ask him, what is your position, Senator, regarding these 200,000 Floridians who are citizens, that, by the way, almost 140,000 of those are children. So what is your position about it, and what are you going to do about it? So we really want to hear from you, Senator, and we hope that you can support us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Pilar. And now we're going to be able to open this up for questions. So the members of the media, if you can raise your hand, there should be a little button where you can do that at the bottom, or just send a message in the Q&A. I can unmute you so you can ask your question. We're going to wait a minute and see if there's any questions from the media. Okay, so it looks like we've got a question from Ramsey Touchberry. Ramsey, if you could just say your name again and let us know what your media source is, that would be great. Ramsey, you should be able to speak now.
Okay, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Okay, cool. Hey, Ramsey Touchberry with Newsweek here. Thank you guys for doing this. This is likely a question most geared towards Mike or Bob, but kind of taking a step back and looking at it nationally here, I'm wondering if you guys have any input on how you feel the Republican Party is handling issues like this and issues with Latinos in a state like Florida. If you think Republican officials' stance on issues like this in an ever-changing state is it could hurt their ability to keep winning at a state level going forward in the future.
Ramsey, this is Mike Fernandez, if I may. Look, I think the party today is very short-sighted. Latinos today just happen to be the Irishmen of yesterday in Boston, or the Germans in Minneapolis, or the Mexican Americans in some parts of the Southwest. We are here, we are citizens, we do participate, and this is our home, this is our country. And as I see them turn their back on future voters, they're in fact turning their backs on the party. The party's already at a deficit. It is declining in enrollment. So are the Democrats because of the extremes that both sides go. But this issue is one of discrimination. The one we're talking about today is one of discrimination. It is one in which, how in the world can you justify turning down and denying a benefit that you give to everyone else to an American citizen because of whom they married? I mean, it is. I'm not sure it's legal, but it's being done. So it has been very short-sighted politically for them, bad politics, and it's bad policy.
Thank you.
Are there?
It's not only. This is
go ahead.
Bob Dickinson. It's not only bad politics and bad policy, but it's punitive. It's hateful. It's divisive. There's no economic way to explain it. Economically, it's suicide. You're denying $340 million to the state so that entrepreneurs have a chance of survival because of the pass-through of that money through retail spending. It makes no sense other to be divisive and hateful to people. And it appears that the party that I've been a member of for 50 plus years, until very recently, has gone in just a very different direction. I mean, I remember compassionate conservatives. Well, this is the antithesis of this. This is divisive and hateful. There's no other way to explain it. And I suspect that's why many Republicans are mute on the subject. They just seem to go along and can't justify it, so they don't say anything at all. It's very disgraceful in my view.
Thank you, Bob. Ramsey, did you have any other questions?
No, I just said thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We'll give this just another few seconds. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand so I can unmute you. I don't see anything else from anybody. So, so with that, I think that we will be wrapping it up. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for attendees. Thank you for the members of the press for being here. And a special thank you to our directly impacted US citizens for your courage to come and tell your story. We are going to continue fighting for this and fighting for what is right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.